Today we're going to look at horizontal and vertical lines. So we have seen horizontal and vertical lines a little bit here and there throughout our linear equations unit when we were looking at slopes. At the end of that lesson, we looked at the different slopes for horizontal and vertical lines. So today we're going to go a little bit further and just really make sure we're understanding what a horizontal line is, what its equation looks like, and certain properties about it, and same for vertical. So horizontal lines have the equation of, they always follow this format of y equals a number. And so if we look at this horizontal line that is sketched, and please make sure yours has arrows on the end of it. The program I use to make this does not allow me to put arrows. But anyways, okay, so here we have a horizontal line. And the reason the equation for a horizontal line is y equal to a number is because you'll notice that if we find points on this horizontal line, every point that we find will have the same y value. And we could do this for the infinite points that fall on this line and see that every single point has that 3 as its y value. So we'll notice that this line intersects the y-axis at 3, meaning that all the y values on the equation will be 3. So your number that refers to the value in the horizontal line equation is found by finding where your line will cross the y-axis. So in this case, this line's equation is y equals 3. So every horizontal line will always be written as y equal to a number, and that number is represented by where your line will cross the y-axis. Lastly, we did see this in our slope lesson, but horizontal lines always have a slope of 0. And so we calculated actually in our lesson, if I took any two of these points and I found the slope, meaning I find the change in y's and I divide it by the change in x's, minus -5 will be 0 over -3, we'll always end up getting 0 in the numerator. 0 divided by anything is 0. So those are two things you need to know about all horizontal lines. Their equations will be y equal to a number, being where that line crosses the y-axis, and that they always have a slope of 0. All right. So let's say we had this problem. Write the equation of a horizontal line that passes through the coordinate 5, 6. If you know the format for the horizontal line equation being y equals to a number, then this is actually a very quick and easy solution to come up with. But what's happening here is we have a grid and we have a point at 5, 6. So let's say this is the point 5, 6. If we're saying there's a horizontal line that goes through that point, we want to know what the equation of that line is. Well, if I've drawn this accurately, I can see that it's going to cross my y-axis at the same level at which that point was. So my y value will be 6. So the equation of this line would just be y equals 6. So you really don't even need this grid to be able to answer this question. All you have to do is know what the y value is in the ordered pair, because that will be the same y value through the entire horizontal line. Oops. So ask ourselves, where would the line cross the y-axis, as I just talked us through? So the answer is 6. I forgot I gave myself this grid. So there's the same diagram. Okay, so our equation is y equals 6. All right, let's move on to vertical lines. So vertical lines, and again, let's put arrows at the end of this because these do continue on to infinity in both directions. On vertical lines, you'll notice that this time, if I'm pulling points on the vertical line, I've got the point 4, 0 there. Here I've got the point 4, 3, 7, oops, sorry, not 7, I don't know what let's see, 4, 7. I could go into the negatives and have 4, -5. And hopefully you're starting to see that this time it's not my y's that are the same, it's actually all my x's. So vertical lines have the equation of x equals a number. The number that our x is going to be equal to is going to be the value for where that line crosses the x-axis. So this is our x-axis. So we can see this one's crossing at 4. So the equation of this line would be x equals 4. And just like we did with our slopes lesson, we can quickly prove why the slopes for vertical lines will always be undefined. So I'm going to take these 2 points here and find the change in y's and subtract it by the change in x's to get 3 over 0. This time the 0 is in the denominator. We can never divide by 0. That's not physically possible to take something and divide it into nothing. I often say we're mathematicians, not magicians. So because of that, we can never divide a number by 0, which is why the slopes of vertical lines will be undefined. So horizontal lines have slopes of 0. Vertical lines always have undefined slopes, and their equations are x equals a number. So let's, I forgot about this. Yeah, so one way that I'll also think about this is that if you think about, because often what happens is we confuse which one's the x equals and which one's the y equals. So one little trick that I use is I think about vertical lines like the X Games. If you think about those athletes that either do these crazy flips in the air with their motorcycles or skateboards or whatever it might be, they're going up and down in the air. And so I think of them going vertically in the air just like a vertical line. And so if I'm thinking about vertical lines relating to the X Games, that's how I remember that vertical lines are X equals. So if that helps you, great. If not, please learn your own way to remember the equations for those lines. All right, so this question says, or prompt says to write the equation of a vertical line that passes through the coordinates -3, -2. So vertical line means we're dealing with x equals. So we'll ask ourselves, where would this line cross the x-axis? So if I have the point at -3, -2, and I drew a vertical line through that point, I would see that that line would cross the x-axis at -3, meaning my equation should be x equals -3. And again, this can all be done without doing a sketch at all if you understand and you know that every time we're dealing with vertical lines, we're really just concerned about the x value, because the y values will change infinitely. That x value is going to be the same all the way through your vertical line. So here's our first practice problem. Write the equation of a horizontal line passes through the coordinates 5, -2. Take a moment to do this. Click pause. When you're ready, click play and we'll check. Okay, so let's check. This should have been y equals -2. All horizontal lines are y equals wherever that line would cross the y-axis. Write the equation of a vertical line that passes through the coordinates -7, 8. This time looking for a vertical line. Take a moment to complete this and then click play when you're ready to check. Okay, for the vertical line, if you like the way we thought about vertical as X Games, then that's going to be x equals -7. All we care about is what the x value was. All right, let's go the other direction now. You're given a graph. Let's write the equation of this line. This is a vertical line, so we should find all the x's to remain the same all the way through it, meaning that it crosses the x-axis at -6. So the equation for this vertical line will always be x equals -6. We have one more. Go ahead, write the equation of this line, and then click play when you're ready to check. All right, this is a horizontal line crossing at 5. So y equals 5 should have been your equation for this horizontal line. All the y's remain constant. And that concludes our horizontal and vertical lines lesson.